welcome to the Man Space Podcast, where we are redefining manhood. I'm your host, Kyle Torrey. This podcast is for men and by men. Yeah, for men and by men. But ladies, this is a welcome space for you. You can pull up a chair, you can listen in so that you can peer in to see what men are dealing with. I've been getting a lot of feedback from our subscribers who are female, and they've been saying, man, they have really appreciated being able to hear and look behind the veil of what's going on in men's lives, how they think, the pressures that they're dealing with. And so today is not going to be any different. And I'm super excited. I got a couple guests in the house with me today, and they are going to be sharing. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
What's up, everybody? I go by Matt, born and raised in St. Louis, 32 years old. I guess we can go a little bit deeper.
You single?
Been divorced for about 4 years, which is crazy to say.
Wow.
We had one lovely daughter, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Man, I'm happy to be here, man. My name is Tyrone, but everybody calls me Ty.
Yeah.
Carlock. I'll start here, man, from St. Louis. Most people gonna ask what high school, probably.
Yeah, you know how we
Gardens,
do it here.
Man, class of 1992, so shout out to Riverview. Married, it'll actually be 14 years.
Wow.
This year comes 4 kiddos, so 2 boys, 2 girls.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be saying and a fur baby. But yeah, man, I got a dog. I got a dog too, man.
Oh, man, yeah,
So,
I had
yeah.
to grab one because of COVID too, man. My family made me go and get one, man. I tried to hold out as long as I could.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, man, happy to be here, man. Thank
Man, super excited, man. Thank y'all for coming here, man. I just believe that men need to be able to hear from other men. We need to put down our egos and create space to be able to hear and glean from other men. And so that's really the point of this, man. It's the reason why I invited y'all here today. Man, so we going to jump right in, man. My first 2 episodes, I talked about the pressures of being a man in this culture. Also talked about some of the issues and some of the definitions that we have around success as men. So as you matured, as you got in your 20s, so that's not too long ago for you. That's been a little minute for you, right? You coming out of your parents' home and you're starting to lay a foundation for, you know, what my future finna look like. What does that mean as far as a female? What does that mean as far as a profession? Like all those things, like how did that feel? And what were some of the questions that you had that maybe you didn't verbalize?
When I reflect back to the 20s,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, man, it was a lot of frustration because when you come up the way I came up, you don't really have a blueprint.
Yeah.
So when I start getting out there living a little, man, being a student, you know, dating for the first time, man, a lot of times, man, I'm throwing everything up against the wall, seeing what's sticking.
Yep.
Because I don't have a blueprint.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I fell on my face a lot of times.
Yeah.
And a lot of mistakes that I've made, I think they were mistakes by trial and error because I just did not have examples.
Yeah.
So I'm not making excuses.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the reality. And I think a lot of times as men engaging with women in relationships, we bring a lot of that baggage to the table.
100%.
A ton of baggage of just inexperience, don't know how
Yeah.
because you didn't have.
Yeah.
I just remember going through that season, man. You know what I'm saying? Of just not knowing.
And this is a conversation I have with women all the time because half of the reason why I did this also to open up the eyes of females who are engaging with men, right? To better understand them because a lot of the pressures that we feel come from the other side, from the other gender, right? Because they're coming into a relationship with these expectations. What I heard you say, which I think was interesting, I want to, follow up, was you said you were just throwing things against the wall, right? And I think that is manhood for a lot of us because we didn't have that example. We just, it was a woman who said it. She said, men are every day walking around trying to figure things out, hoping that they're never exposed. Right. And I thought that was such a powerful and clear message about what manhood was because for a long time, that's what it was for me. It was just throwing stuff against the wall. But here's the issue. If you attach to anybody else, meaning a female or anybody, maybe you got a little brother or something, like that's going to affect them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how did you see your 20s or when you was first kind of getting out here trial and error, how was that affecting the people around you?
I mean, to the women who are like trying to understand the men in this stage, like you can't. They don't even understand. My story is a little bit unique because I got married so young. Like I was barely in my 20s when I got married. I was married at 22. It was just like this off the cuff like decision that I made that like, oh, I'll eventually figure it out, pull the parachute on my way down.
Yeah.
You know? And unfortunately, like that was not the time for me to be trying to grow, trying to figure it out. I messed that thing completely up, like abused a great woman, you know what I mean? And so like here I am just like repeating those same steps that I promised myself I would never do.
Wow.
Like seeing my dad do the same thing he did to my mom. Like I said I'd never do that. I had deep resentment towards him for that.
Yeah.
But here I am, you know what I mean? Here I am starting a family in a broken home, like stuff unimaginable stuff you would have asked me I would have signed up for, like absolutely not, but I'm the problem in that, right? And so can
I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
So when you were in the midst of kind of that season, right, because I'm sure there's other men out here who've been in that season or possibly could be tomorrow, like what was the mindset around that? Because you said you hated to see that happen with your dad, but yet you find yourself doing it. So in that moment, was there a moment during that time where you thought about like, this is normal for men?
I was never making those decisions guilt-free. Like it was always guilt there that made me feel like what you doing is wrong. It's gonna blow up in your face one day, you know. So I was never like thinking what I was doing was the right thing.
Based off of what you've seen growing up, how did you define success? How did you view success at one time, and then has it changed since then?
Yeah, I don't think it changed much, honestly. It was always men were judged for what they have, what they can bring to the table, and women were judged for their physical appearance. And it's still like that today. Sadly for me too, you know what I mean, in most cases. And if I'm honest, like I'm in a transition stage of life, and so like I get insecure sometimes when I feel like, damn, like this dude is more successful than me. He's accomplished more than me and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's because like I got that skewed view of what success looks like.
So based off of what you see other men do and how it might make you feel, when you talked about the insecurity, how does that affect you when you go back and you're making decisions about your finances, about life, about all these other things?
It makes you want to swing big. You know, it makes you want to make uncalculated decisions, make you want to rush into things. You want to like bite off a little bit more than you can chew.
You know what?
Yeah,
when I
that's good though.
Going back to your first question, like when I reflect back to when I was younger, how did I define success? What's crazy, Kyle? I was a 17-year-old kid with a baseball scholarship who thought he was going pro.
Yeah.
That is one of the most frustrating things for me as I sit here at 49 years old with young black men. Because I know the data, what the data says, I know what the numbers say as far as the percentages. Everybody's not going to be Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Everybody's not going to be Brad Beal.
Yeah. Shout out to my boys, though, both of them. Hometown heroes, my dudes.
Guys,
yeah.
But everybody's not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what ended up happening for me, man, when I was young, my mindset is that's how I define success. I went off to college, man, to play baseball. I didn't go to get an education. So the moment I stopped playing baseball was the moment I stopped being engaged in class.
Yeah.
And what should take 4 years took me 10 years.
Wow.
Because for years, man, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yep.
I'm listening to everybody else. But what I did is I said, man, I'm going to major in IT. Because everybody said that's where the money at. Not that's what I'm passionate about.
Wow.
So now I get a degree in IT. And the first thing that happened, man, I get a job and I'm miserable. Sitting in the cubby, I'm miserable. I'm doing a job, but I'm really like a zombie, man, coming in every day.
Yeah. And what you're saying, man, is so important because I'm talking to young dudes all the time. They go into college, they're young men, right? They go to college. You know, the focus most of the time is social. Let's just be honest, you know, be in a new environment, get to kind of reinvent yourself, get to know people, all the things. But when it come down to majors and stuff, bro, you have a career counselor trying to help you pick a major. And most of the time their question is what do you want to do? Exactly. You don't have a clue because you've never been exposed to anything. There are other people in other cultures that their fathers have walked them and showed them. I remember, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember working at this company. And in corporate America, and we were, that we remain nameless. And we were at a golf event. The PGA came to St. Louis, and so I was at the hospitality tent. I mean, I'm around all these millionaires, all these business dudes, these CEOs, CFOs, all these things, right? And I remember walking outside the hospitality. I'm hosting some accounts, so I remember walking out the hospitality tent, looking around like, man. Like, I never thought somebody like me would be in a space like this. And I'm the only black person there, to be honest with you, right? I'm looking around, I'm like, man, this is amazing. And as soon as I'm having this moment of, man, Kyle, you done finally been successful. Like, this is beyond something that you have probably ever thought for yourself. Do you know what happened? I saw this man walking up with his son. And I'm sizing his son up. His son probably about 13 years old. As he's walking, he's talking to his son like, he's like, you see the son, he listening to him. He's like, you can tell he's like saying, do this, do this, do this. He walked up to one of the same tents that I'm at 13 years old, and his dad was like, saw a man he knew looked like a business guy, business owner, whatever. He points to his son like, this is my son. His son walk up there with a firm grip. I saw him. He got on a little blazer. He shook his hand. Dad introduced to the next dude. He's shaking his hand. And I'm like, he's 13. He's being exposed to something that I'm at this point thinking this is my dream. You get what I'm saying? And he's being exposed to that. That's just one piece of what this young man's been exposed to. You get what I'm saying? And so for me, man, what I see with a lot of men who don't have that father or don't have that type of person, like what you talked about, Tyler, where you trying to set your kids up for success now by exposing them to things in a young age, which I'm gonna get to another question about that, exposing them to things as a young age that you wasn't exposed to because you are present, right? So I'm gonna start with you, Ty. Now that you're in this next phase of life, like, how are you defining success? And now, based off of the way that you're defining it, is it different than how you defined it before when you were younger?
Man, that's a great question. Yes, it's different.
Yeah.
I am in a career now, man. I've been doing now for over 20 years in healthcare sales, man. I love what I do. One of the things I did, man, I went back to school and invested back in myself. I got my master's of business administration. Man, I ended up meeting some sales reps in class.
Wow.
Who saw something in me. Because sometimes, man, I tell my kids all the time, your plan still might not be his plan.
Yeah.
So I'm there not knowing that I'm going to run into some reps, and I run into some reps who see something in me. I end up getting some mock interviews, man, from some relationships that I had. And then I got a call one day based on the mock interviews that said, hey, that was starting off in pharmaceutical sales, man, that you typically got to have a biology and chemistry.
Definitely do. Absolutely.
And here I am with an IT degree. Anyway, man, I look at success now today, finding your passion, man, and figuring out how to get paid doing it.
Yeah.
Health is truly wealth. Being a friend, you got to be present.
Yeah.
So, man, trying to take care of this temple better.
Yeah.
I hate seeing us with diabetes, hypertension, all these other things.
Yeah.
Things we got control over. I would be remiss if I didn't sit here and say, man, and I think we all know this, man, spiritually, man, God is the most important.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact I define that as success, too, as having a personal relationship with him.
Yeah.
And something that I can tap into, man, whenever I don't feel like I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's something I wasn't doing when I was younger either.
Yeah.
It's tapping in and inquiring from him what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good.
Success, I think, is contributing to, like, people who need you, man. Like, who need you, dude. The reason y'all can sit here today and we can sit here and have this conversation is because you see a void in our culture. This is success. You've walked your walk of life, and you setting your children up, your family up. Y'all, like, changing the course of what this stuff looks like in the future. Y'all, like, that's success.
Yeah.
And the Lord has blessed me to, like, take out whatever little bit that I can in the world in this stage of my life and allow me to influence younger dudes. Like, that's success, bro.
Yes.
Like, I could pull up in a vet. I could pull up in a old beat up Toyota. You know what I mean? Like, like, none of that define who I am. You know what I'm saying?
That's
none
hard,
of that
though.
define who I am.
That's real. Is there anything in general, if you had a young man right now, man, and you just wanted to encourage him with anything, any jewels, any pearls?
I would say growth and success isn't like a linear path. I would say it's definitely filled with trials and errors, ups and downs. We giving as much game as we can, but, like, people still gonna have to live their life. They still gonna have to bump their head. And so, like, just fight through the discouragement of that.
Lastly, man, everybody has some type of greatness in them. That's just something I believe, and you got to tap into it. And to me, once you tap into it, what ends up happening, man, is an array of greatness comes out you in multiple places. Now you become a great father. Now you become a great friend. Now you become a great husband. Now you become a great leader because you done tapped into who you are. I think that's the biggest thing, man, people got to find.
Well, listen, man, I want to thank y'all for coming on the podcast, man, sharing those pearls, that wisdom. Appreciate y'all being vulnerable. But we need more spaces like this. These are the kind of spaces that allow us to grow. And also, it starts to lay the foundation for the blueprint of how it might look for me to walk in a space where I judge myself by the right things as far as success is concerned. So, man, again, appreciate y'all coming. Man, this is episode 3. We out.